My name is Benjamin Poole, and when I was 23, I gave my life savings to a broker who lost it all. But this taught me an invaluable lesson. I needed to educate myself to make my own financial decisions. Fast forward 20 years, I am no longer living paycheck to paycheck, and I want to share everything I've learned with you. Welcome to Financially Fit. Welcome to Financially Fit. My name is Benjamin Poole, and today I'm going to talk to you about the Microsoft chart. So after the bell, we have earnings on Microsoft. So I'm going to explain to you why we're going to wait 3 days after earnings in order to do anything with this chart. All right, SMCI is another chart that I'm going to show you in a reason why we don't do anything until 3 days, because they just had earnings yesterday. All right, so into the charts we go. So Microsoft, all right, I had this trend line and this parallel channel. So I connected this low right here with this low and this low. I drew my parallel channel line and I actually had it right here, okay? So although it wasn't the correct parallel channel, I did get a pullback. So it's really important to understand that the markets or the charts are there to guide you, right? They're little windows into the price action of the market, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be 100% accurate every single time. Even though we did get this little bit of a pullback and this what I would consider a bear flag, so I expected movement down, the price action, and the market is always correct, the price action actually started going up. So what happened here? Am I just wrong, or was there something that I wasn't seeing in the charts? And so then you go back at the charts and you look, okay, here we go. So then I go ahead and I reconnect these bottom lines right here. And instead of connecting here, I connected this high. And so what does this tell me? It tells me that the high of this parallel channel is actually higher. So it's closer to 419, 420, where I thought it was right around $380, $385. And so even though I was seeing something in the markets, I needed to readjust my reality once a price action changed. And so this is the thing with trading, right? Is you can see what's in the charts, but the price action in the market will ultimately tell you if you're right or wrong. And if you're wrong, you got to just readjust. All right. And so that's what I did. And so here's my next upside target, 420. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to trade off of that level. You also need to get corresponding trend lines to line up to see if that is an actual pullback, right? So the more factors you have in your trade, the more conviction that you have, and the more likelihood that those support and resistance lines are actually going to be support and resistance. And so I actually came back and I've got this pivot high right here. It actually corresponds with the middle part of the parallel channel. It chops all the way through here and actually tags this pivot right here, okay, before ultimately taking a dive. Then we can connect it up here. So alone, this isn't necessarily an indication that the pullback in the market. However, because I've got this other upsloping trend line connected and creating a parallel channel, if it does hit that $420 level, then I can expect more of a pullback. Again, you always have to adjust to the markets. The markets are not going to adjust to you, all right? So kind of keep that in mind. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on this chart right here. Here's what I was noticing, or here's what I was looking at, right? You had all this sideways consolidation right here, but ultimately that was a failed move, and now we have further upside. So right now Microsoft is trading at 407. Well, yeah, it's 407, 406.95 area. So if it gets up to this 420 level, that's a possible short. However, we have earnings after the bell. Now let me show you the SMCI chart. Okay, so they had earnings yesterday. They actually reported a couple days ago, but the earnings on the charts were actually yesterday after the bell. And look at this price action. So it got up to about $565. This isn't pre-market. This is just market hours. So it opened up here right around 550. Pre-market, it was actually up to about 565. And so had we decided, oh my gosh, this stock is going to continue to go up, we'd have gotten in here right at the highs at the open, and then we'd be bleeding money. So we want to wait 3 days so that way we can see what the price action does in order for us to get into a trade, because we don't want to be caught off guard and we want to actually see what price action is doing. Just like DHI, right? So we went over DHI the other day and look at this. Look at this price action on DHI. So now this is actually telling us something, right? So here's the DHI on the daily chart. It had the earnings, had dropped back inside this parallel channel, dropped again, and now what is it doing? Now it's putting in this nice inside bar pattern. So inside bar means that it's just gonna stay in between this red bar, and it's got 1, 2, 3, 4. If it gets up to 7 more candles, then, up to 7 candles, then it's more mature, and then we can expect more of a rollover. Okay, so how we do this is we actually take, I'm gonna erase my chart for you. We're gonna take the high of the body to the low of the body. We're gonna calculate that out. It comes to about $5.50. And so on the 6th or 7th candle, if it gets back up to the high of the red bar candle, then we can actually expect a price target of about $5 lower. Okay, and then we see what's gonna happen after that. If it continues the sideways action, then we can expect more of a rollover to around 100, that's a terrible arrow. So we're gonna draw that again down to around $120. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and switch back to the Microsoft chart. Now let's say that it has positive earnings on Microsoft, and it gets up to this $419, $420 level, and it's been 3 days. Can we take a short on this? Yes, just know that it doesn't matter what we think. It doesn't matter that just because it's in the top of the charts that it's going to continue down, or is it gonna start taking its turn further down? So we start with a smaller position. Now on the downside, if we do take a short and it starts going down, we're gonna get to this bottom of this green bar candle. It's gonna pause there. And then right around this $390 level, $390 level, that's where you're gonna get your next bounce. And then you've got ultimately all this sideways chop. So around 370 would be your secondary target. And then ultimately, if we do get a reversal and you do trade this in about 3 days after earnings, then your downside target would be this midline. The middle of the parallel channels are really where the price action goes and is drawn to. As you can see, all this choppiness around the parallel channels, okay? So those are my downside targets on Microsoft. And so I really hope that you guys enjoy this. Microsoft, DHI, SMCI, it doesn't matter what you guys are trading. Please make sure that you adhere to the 3-day rule. Set up your targets ahead of time, watch for price action, and then you can make your decisions and have a more successful trade, less stress, and just more enjoyment in life overall, I would think, because now you know that you have the odds in your favor. So I just want to say thank you guys so much for commenting, liking, supporting all this information, and know that these charts are for educational purposes only. Please do your own research and continue to support. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time on Financially Fit.